You blocked their number and felt your chest unclench. No explanation. No second chance. Just gone. Your friends think you're cold. Your family calls you unforgiving. But here's what they don't see. When you were 8 years old, you came home to an empty house every single day. You learned to make dinner from a box. You learned that adults lie when they say they'll be there. So your brain built a system, a tripwire. One betrayal and the door slams shut forever. This isn't a personality flaw. It's a survival mechanism you constructed in real time while everyone else was getting picked up from soccer practice. You don't cut people off easily. You cut them off efficiently. And that reflex? It saved your life before you even knew you needed saving. Your brain has a trust account for every person you meet. Most people start strangers with a balance of $50. Small mistakes get deducted. Good behavior gets deposited. You start everyone at zero. And the credit limit? Also zero. This isn't pessimism, it's neurobiology. When you were young, your prefrontal cortex was still developing. That's the part that handles rational decision-making and emotional regulation. It doesn't fully mature until age 25. But your amygdala? That was fully operational at birth. The amygdala is your threat detector. It's an almond-shaped cluster of neurons that screams danger before your thinking brain can ask questions. During your formative years, repeated disappointments carved neural pathways. Mom said she'd be home by 6. She wasn't. Dad promised to show up. He didn't. Each broken promise was an electrical signal. Each signal strengthened a specific circuit. By the time you were 12, that circuit was a highway. Betrayal detection became automatic, instantaneous, non-negotiable. Neuroscientists call this experience-dependent plasticity. Your brain physically reorganized itself around unreliability. Here's the mechanism. When someone breaks trust, your amygdala fires. It releases cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate spikes, your pupils dilate. This is the same response you'd have if a snake appeared on your hiking trail. Your body cannot tell the difference between social danger and physical danger. So you do what any mammal does when threatened, you create distance. Attachment researchers identified your pattern in the 1970s. They call it avoidant attachment. Roughly 30% of adults have it. But here's what the textbooks miss. You're not avoiding connection. You're avoiding repetition. The friend who cancels plans last minute? Your brain doesn't see rudeness. It sees your mom's empty promises encrypted in a new face. The romantic partner who forgets something important? Your system doesn't register forgetfulness. It registers the pattern of being deprioritized. One strike and you're out isn't cruelty. It's pattern recognition running at maximum efficiency. Your threshold isn't high, it's precise. You're not waiting for proof. You already have more than 30 years of data. Let me show you how this plays out in actual scenarios. Case 1. The borrowed money. Your friend Jake needed $200 for rent. You lent it. He said he'd pay you back in 2 weeks. 3 weeks pass. You don't bring it up. You're watching. Week 4 arrives. Jake posts Instagram stories from a concert. Craft beer in hand. Vintage band shirt. Having the time of his life. You don't text him asking about the money. You just delete his contact. Block him on everything. Erase him like he never existed. Your other friends think you're insane. It's just $200. He probably forgot. Give him a chance. But you're not mad about the money. You're mad that he thought you were stupid enough not to notice. He had money for a $40 concert ticket, but not for the debt he owed you. That's not forgetfulness. That's disrespect wrapped in convenience. Your friends see a small mistake. You see a character reveal. And you don't need to see it twice. Case 2. The small lie. You're dating someone for 4 months. Everything feels right. Then you discover they lied about something minor. Maybe they said they were working late, but they were actually at a bar with friends. Not cheating, not dangerous, just a stupid, avoidable lie. You end it the next day. They're devastated. They apologize repeatedly. It meant nothing. I don't know why I lied. It'll never happen again. But you're already gone. Because you know something they don't. Liars don't start with big lies. They start with small ones to test your boundaries. If you accept the small lie, you're giving permission for larger ones. A study from the University of California found that people who lie about small things are 4 times more likely to lie about significant matters later. Your gut knew this before the research confirmed it. Case 3. The credit thief. You're in a meeting at work. You pitched an idea last week in a smaller group. Now your coworker Rachel presents that exact idea as her own. She doesn't mention you. She doesn't even make eye contact. Your boss loves it. Rachel gets praise. You sit there feeling your jaw tighten. You don't make a scene. You don't correct the record publicly. But from that moment forward, Rachel is invisible to you. You don't include her in emails. You don't save her a seat. You answer her questions with the bare minimum. She notices eventually. She asks if something's wrong. You say everything's fine. And you mean it. Because she no longer exists in your professional universe. Problem solved. Your colleagues think you're holding a grudge. But you're not holding anything. You simply removed a threat from your environment. These aren't isolated incidents. They're your pattern. And here's what makes you different from most people. You don't need multiple data points. You don't need to see the behavior twice. One sample size is sufficient when the stakes are your peace of mind. Research from the Journal of Personality shows that people with avoidant attachment make faster relationship decisions with higher confidence levels. You're not impulsive, you're efficient. The average person needs 3 to 5 betrayals before they end a relationship. You need one, because you learned early that people show you who they are the first time. You just have to be paying attention. And you're always paying attention. Your brain isn't malfunctioning. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do. Go back 50,000 years. You're living in a small tribe of 30 to 50 people. Resources are scarce. Food is uncertain. Predators are real. Your survival depends entirely on the reliability of the people around you. If someone in your tribe says they'll watch your back during a hunt and they don't, you die. If someone promises to share food during winter and they hoard it, your children starve. In that environment, there's no such thing as a small betrayal. Every broken promise is a survival threat. Evolutionary psychologists call this the ancestral mismatch problem. Your brain evolved to solve problems that no longer exist. But the hardware remains. Here's the calculus your ancestors faced. 2 types of errors. False positive. You cut someone off who was actually trustworthy. You lose one relationship. False negative. You trust someone who betrays you. You lose your life. Natural selection didn't favor forgiveness. It favored caution. The humans who gave multiple chances, they're not your ancestors. They didn't make it. You descended from the suspicious ones, the ones who withdrew fast and survived long. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar found that humans can maintain approximately 150 stable relationships. That's Dunbar's number. But here's the part that matters. Your brain has to allocate limited social resources. Every person you keep in your circle requires energy, emotional bandwidth, mental tracking. When someone proves unreliable, your brain runs a cost-benefit analysis in milliseconds. Is this person worth the metabolic expense of continued monitoring? Usually the answer is no, so you eject them. You free up that slot for someone who might actually deliver. This is resource optimization at a neurological level. Now add the Gen X variable. You grew up in the 1970s and 80s. Economic instability was everywhere. Divorce rates doubled between 1970 and 1980. 50% of marriages failed. Latchkey kids became a phenomenon. 5 to 7 million children came home to empty houses every day. You learned self-reliance before you learned multiplication tables. Your parents' generation believed kids were resilient. They believed independence built character. What it actually built was hypervigilance. Child development research shows that kids need consistent, responsive caregiving to develop secure attachment. You got inconsistency, so your brain adapted. It stopped expecting reliability. It started preparing for disappointment. And when disappointment became the baseline, trust became the exception. You're not cold. You're evolved for an environment that prioritized survival over sentiment. Your ancestors who trusted easily got eliminated from the gene pool. You inherited the genes of the cautious, the skeptical, the ones who walked away first. That's not a bug in your programming. That's the feature that kept your bloodline alive for 10,000 generations. But here's the problem. You're running Ice Age software in a Silicon Valley world. The environment changed. Your brain didn't get the memo. Today's world rewards collaboration, networking, second chances, forgiveness. Every career book tells you to build bridges. Every self-help guru preaches radical empathy. Meanwhile, you're over here burning bridges like they're made of gasoline-soaked kindling. And it's costing you. Let's talk about the loneliness tax first. A study from Brigham Young University found that social isolation increases mortality risk by 29%. That's equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Oh. Your cutoff reflex protects you from betrayal. But it also severs potentially valuable connections. That friend who canceled plans. Maybe their kid was sick. Maybe they have untreated anxiety. You'll never know, because you already deleted their number. The cumulative effect is brutal. Each person you cut off makes your circle smaller. Smaller circle means fewer opportunities, fewer perspectives, less support when you actually need it. By age 45, the average Gen Z has 63% fewer close friendships than they had at 25. You might be sitting at 80% fewer. Now let's examine the professional cost. LinkedIn reports that 85% of jobs are filled through networking, not applications, not job boards, connections. But networking requires maintained relationships. It requires people who remember you favorably. Every colleague you've iced out is a door that's permanently closed. That coworker who took credit for your idea, she's now a director at a company you wanted to join. She's not recommending you. She probably doesn't remember you exist. The professional world is smaller than you think. 6 degrees of separation is real. Except in your industry, it's more like 3 degrees. And you've systematically dismantled your network one justified cutoff at a time. Here's the cruelest irony. The behavior that protected you as a child is sabotaging you as an adult. When you were 8, cutting off unreliable adults was smart. They had power. You didn't. Distance equaled safety. Now you're the adult. You have power. You have choices. But your threat detection system is still calibrated for childhood danger levels. It can't distinguish between this person disrespected me and this person is a threat to my survival. So it treats every betrayal like a 5-alarm fire. Psychologists call this emotional dysregulation. Your response is disproportionate to the actual threat. Someone forgets your birthday and your nervous system responds like they pushed you off a cliff. The response made sense when you were powerless. It doesn't make sense now. But knowing that intellectually doesn't change the circuit. The highway is already built. There's another cost nobody talks about: decision fatigue. Maintaining a hard boundary requires constant vigilance. You're always scanning for violations. Always waiting for proof that you were right to be suspicious. A Harvard study found that people with avoidant attachment spend 42% more cognitive energy on relationship monitoring than securely attached people. That's brain power you could be using for creativity, strategy, joy. Instead, you're running background scans on everyone in your proximity. Is this person safe? Are they showing signs? Should I start creating distance now? It's exhausting, and the tragedy is that you're often right. People do let you down. Your predictions come true, which reinforces the pattern. But here's what you're missing. You're also creating the outcome. When you expect betrayal, you withhold trust. When you withhold trust, people feel it. They become defensive, distant, less invested. And then they do the thing you predicted. Not because they were always going to, but because you treated them like they already had. Psychologists call this a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're not discovering untrustworthy people. You're sometimes creating them through your own defensive architecture. The modern world requires flexibility, nuance, the ability to differentiate between levels of violation. But your system only has 2 settings: in or out, safe or threat, keep or eject. There's no middle ground, no probation period, no yellow card before the red. And in a world built on second chances, that's a losing strategy. Section 6, the hidden benefits. But before you decide you need to completely rewire yourself, let's talk about what you got right. Because while everyone's telling you to be more forgiving, more open, more trusting, they're ignoring something crucial. You haven't been in a toxic relationship for more than 6 weeks in your entire adult life. Read that again. Your college roommate? Still untangling herself from a narcissist she's been with for 7 years. Your coworker? Complaining about the same terrible friend group for a decade. Your sister? On year 5 of a marriage where her partner forgets important events monthly. You saw the red flag on day 3 and disappeared like a ghost. This is not a small thing. The average person stays in an unsatisfying relationship for 2.3 years after recognizing it's not working. That's from a study published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships. 2.3 years of drained energy, suppressed resentment, fake smiles at dinner parties. You don't have that problem. Your tolerance for disrespect is 0, and that saves you years of wasted life. Let's talk about your inner circle. It's small, maybe 5 people, maybe 3. But those people are titanium strength vetted. They've passed tests they didn't even know they were taking. They've shown up consistently. They've proven themselves under pressure. When you call them at 2 in the morning, they answer. Because they know you'd do the same. Because your loyalty, once earned, is unshakable. Research from Oxford University found that people with smaller, high-quality social networks report higher life satisfaction than those with larger, shallow networks. You don't have 200 casual friends. You have 3 ride-or-die allies. And that's worth more than a packed contact list. Here's another benefit nobody mentions. You're immune to manipulation. Narcissists, users, energy vampires, they all rely on the same thing. Your willingness to give second chances. They apologize beautifully. They promise change. They weaponize your empathy. And it works on most people. The average person gives 7 chances before cutting someone off. 7 opportunities for a manipulator to extract value, cause damage, and dig deeper into your life. You give 1. A study in the Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin found that people with avoidant attachment are 68% less likely to be exploited in relationships because exploiters need time. They need you to ignore small violations while they escalate. You don't give them time. You don't ignore anything. First violation is the last violation. Game over. This is a superpower in a world full of takers. Let's also acknowledge the clarity you possess. Most people agonize over relationship decisions. They make pros and cons lists. They seek advice from 12 different friends. They second-guess themselves for months. You decide fast, you execute faster, you don't ruminate. That's not coldness, that's decisiveness. And decisiveness is a competitive advantage in every area of life. While others are stuck in analysis paralysis, you've already moved on. You've already freed up that mental space for something productive. The emotional efficiency is real. If you want to leave a comment, type the word fortress if you've ever cut someone off and never looked back. Your boundaries are diamond hard. People learn quickly that you're not someone who tolerates disrespect. And that reputation, it filters your life automatically. The users don't approach you. The flakes don't waste your time. The manipulators move on to easier targets. You've created a force field without even trying. Here's the truth that therapy culture doesn't want to admit. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves a second chance. Not everyone deserves an explanation. Some people are lessons. Some people are warnings. Some people are simply incompatible with your peace. And you figured that out decades before it became a trending hashtag. You're not broken for having standards. You're evolved for having them. The world will call you unforgiving. Let them. While they're nursing their 3rd betrayal from the same person, you're surrounded only by people who've earned their place. Quality over quantity isn't just a phrase for you. It's a survival strategy that's been working since you were old enough to hold a house key. So here's the question. Do you actually want to change this? Because maybe you don't. Maybe your system works exactly as intended. But if you're reading this, there's probably a part of you that wonders, what if you're cutting off people who deserved a second look? What if your tripwire is too sensitive? Here's the truth. You don't need to become a doormat. You don't need to tolerate disrespect. You just need to add a middle gear between trusted ally and dead to me. Exercise 1. The yellow card system. In soccer, referees don't go straight to ejection. They issue a yellow card first, a warning. You're going to build that into your system. When someone violates a boundary, don't block them immediately. Mark them mentally as yellow card status. This means, I see what you did. I'm not forgetting it. But I'm giving you space to course correct. Here's the key. You're not lowering your standards. You're testing whether this was a pattern or a mistake. If they violate again within 30 days, red card, ejection, no appeal. But if they don't, the yellow card expires. This creates a buffer between your reaction and your decision. And that buffer is where wisdom lives. Exercise 2. Externalize the threat assessment. Your brain makes cut-off decisions in seconds. That's too fast for nuance. So slow it down artificially. When someone triggers you, open your phone. Write down exactly what happened. Use specific details. Sarah cancelled our lunch with 2 hours' notice. Said she had a work emergency. This is the second time in 3 months. Ha. Now write down the threat level on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is annoying but harmless. 10 is direct threat to my well-being. Be honest. A cancelled lunch is probably a 3, maybe a 4. Does a level 3 violation deserve a permanent ejection? Maybe not. This exercise forces your prefrontal cortex back online. It overrides the amygdala's panic button. You're not ignoring your instincts. You're adding a quality control layer. Exercise 3. The 72-hour rule. No permanent decisions in the first 72 hours after a betrayal. Your cortisol is spiked. Your amygdala is screaming. You're in fight or flight mode. Decisions made in that state are protective, not strategic. So give yourself 3 days. You can create distance. You can go quiet. You can avoid the person. But no blocking, no burning, no final declarations. After 72 hours, your nervous system calms. Your thinking brain comes back. Then you decide. You'll be shocked how many times the answer changes when you're not flooded with stress hormones. A study from the American Psychological Association found that decisions made during acute stress are 42% more extreme than decisions made in calm states. You're not being weak by waiting. You're being accurate. Exercise 4. Controlled vulnerability practice. Your trust muscle has atrophied. You need to rebuild it slowly, with low-stakes experiments. Find someone neutral, not a close friend, not a romantic interest. Maybe a coworker or acquaintance. Share something mildly personal, not trauma, just something real. I'm actually really nervous about this presentation. I've been struggling with sleep lately. Then watch what they do with that information. Do they dismiss it? Do they use it against you? Do they respond with empathy? Most of the time, nothing bad happens, and your brain needs to see that. You're collecting new data that says vulnerability doesn't always equal danger. Do this once a week. Small disclosures, low stakes, new information for your threat detection system. Exercise 5. The reframe question. When someone disappoints you, ask yourself one question before you react. Is this person dangerous or just human? Dangerous means they're actively trying to harm me. They're manipulative. They're a threat to my safety or sanity. Human means they're flawed. They made a mistake. They're dealing with their own chaos. Most people are human, not dangerous. Your childhood taught you to treat all disappointment as danger. That was smart then. It's not accurate now. This question doesn't excuse bad behavior. It just categorizes it correctly. Dangerous people get cut immediately. No hesitation. Human people get a yellow card. If you found these exercises helpful, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next deep dive into evolutionary psychology. You're not trying to become someone else. You're not trying to ignore your instincts. You're just upgrading the software, adding options between 0 and 100. Your boundaries can stay high. Your standards can stay intact. You're just building a drawbridge into your fortress, so you can choose when to lower it and choose when to raise it again. Here's what you need to understand. Your instinct is not the part of you that cuts people off saved your life when you were too young to save yourself. It kept you safe when the adults around you couldn't be trusted. It built walls when you needed shelter. That reflex deserves respect, not shame. But survival mode and thriving mode require different tools. You survived childhood by being a fortress, impenetrable, self-contained, alone but safe. Now you're an adult, you have resources, you have power, you have choice. And fortresses, while strong, are also isolating. The goal isn't to tear down your walls. The goal is to install a gate you control. A gate that opens and closes based on evidence, not just instinct. You don't need to become softer. You need to become more flexible. There's a difference between protecting yourself and isolating yourself. Protection is strategic. Isolation is reflexive. You've mastered protection. Now you're learning calibration. And calibration means this. Not every disappointment is a deal breaker. Not every mistake is a betrayal. Not every human failure is a threat. Some people deserve ejection. The manipulators, the users. The ones who show you cruelty disguised as carelessness. Cut them, fast, without guilt. But some people just deserve a conversation. Hey, when you canceled last minute it bothered me. I need more notice. Most people will adjust. Because most people aren't trying to hurt you. They're just moving through life half asleep. Your childhood didn't give you the luxury of believing that. Every broken promise felt intentional. So you learned to assume malice instead of assuming chaos. But assuming malice is expensive. It costs you relationships, opportunities, connection. So here's your new operating system. Assume chaos first. Confirm malice second. Someone flakes on you? Chaos. They flake 3 times with elaborate excuses? Malice. Someone forgets something important? Chaos. They forget repeatedly after you've told them it matters? Malice. This gives people room to be imperfect without being ejected. And it gives you room to be discerning without being alone. Remember, you're not broken. You never were. You're a product of your environment. And your environment required hypervigilance. But environments change. The empty house you came home to at age 8 doesn't exist anymore. The unreliable adults who taught you not to trust aren't in charge anymore. You are. And that means you get to decide who stays, who goes, and who gets a second look. Your past built you into a fortress. Respect that. But your future requires you to be a kingdom. Fortresses keep threats out. Kingdoms let the right people in. You've spent decades proving you can survive alone. Now spend the next decades discovering what happens when you don't have to. You're not trying to fill your life with people. You're trying to fill it with the right people. And finding them requires letting them close enough to reveal who they are. Your cutting reflex is a superpower. It protects you from wolves. But learning when not to cut, that's the advanced level. That's how you build the life you actually want instead of just the life you can survive. You aren't broken. You're evolved. Now evolve one more time. Not into someone weak. Not into someone who tolerates disrespect. Into someone who can tell the difference between a threat and a mistake. Between a pattern and an accident. Between someone who doesn't value you and someone who's just having a bad month. You've been the fortress long enough. Time to build the drawbridge. And time to decide person by person, moment by moment, whether to lower it. The power was always yours. Now use it.